Ava, a 30-year-old artist who drew pictures, lived in a nice, simple apartment downtown. With her long black hair usually tied up in a loose knot and paint on her denim pants, she felt relaxed both at home and in her little workspace. Even though she was a lively person, Ava felt something was missing. Her days were busy with her job, and she spent her evenings alone, wishing she had closer relationships with people. One wet night, as she walked home from a long day, she saw someone crouched under a tattered awning, shaking from the cold. She felt sad when she realized it was a man soaked from the rain. He had messy gray hair and a messy beard. He looked about 55 years old, and he seemed very burdened. "Hey, are you all right?" Ava asked, her face showing worry. The man looked up, surprised. "I'm okay. Just waiting for the rain to stop," he answered. But Ava could see he was very cold. "Come inside," she insisted, moving closer, feeling sympathy for him. "You can't stay out here like this." He paused for a second, then agreed and shuffled towards her. "I'm Jake," he said quietly, his voice rough and tired. "Ava," she replied with a smile, hoping to make him feel better. She led him into her warm apartment. Inside her flat, the scent of herbal tea hung in the air. She immediately gave him a towel and pointed him towards the bathroom. "You should have a shower and get warm. I can fix you some food after." Jake's eyes widened a little. "You don't need to do that." "I want to," Ava insisted, her tone strong but kind. "You've been out in the cold for far too long." With a thankful nod, Jake went to the bathroom. Ava kept herself busy in the kitchen, her mind filled with thoughts of the unfamiliar man she had just brought home. She had a persistent feeling that their encounter was more than just coincidence. As the sound of the shower echoed through the apartment, Ava made a simple dinner, attempting to ignore the anxious excitement she felt. After about 15 minutes, the water turned off, and she heard Jake moving about. She turned to greet him, ready to give him a hot meal, but she suddenly found herself unable to breathe. From her throat's view, Jake appeared, surrounded by mist. A towel was tightly wrapped around his lower body, his hair stuck to his forehead, and water drops flowed down his well-defined chest. For a short time, everything seemed to freeze. Ava's heart beat fast as they looked at each other, a sudden attraction sparking between them. "Wow. Oh, I didn't want to surprise you," he said, a small smile on his lips, his face flushed. "I'm just astonished," Ava answered, feeling her face get hot. "You look unlike yourself without being rained on." "Thanks," he chuckled lightly, looking down as he fixed the towel. "I feel a bit more like a person. Let me cook you something," she suggested, trying to calm down. Ava turned to the kitchen, but as she did, Jake's towel fell, showing more than she anticipated. She briefly saw his muscular body and quickly looked away, her heart pounding. "Sorry about that," Jake blurted, quickly fixing his towel. "Guess I'm still adjusting to this whole dry thing." Ava laughed nervously, her face still warm. "No worries. It occurs," she said, concentrating on the stove to cover her embarrassment. They sat at her little kitchen table, the comforting food and their talk gradually easing the tension. Jake told tales of his life, revealing parts of a past full of potential. Ava was fascinated by his stories, his experiences creating a clear image of his toughness and inner strength. As they finished eating, Ava felt a bond forming between them, one that went beyond their age gap. "Would you like some tea?" she asked, getting up. "If you help me with the dishes," Jake said with a playful glint in his eyes. "Okay," she agreed, smiling as she got the tea ready. They went into the living room where a gentle lamp made the room feel warm and comfortable. As Ava gave Jake a hot mug, their fingers touched, and she felt a sudden thrill. She tried to dismiss the nervous flutter in her stomach, but the attraction between them was obvious. "So why did you move to this area?" Ava asked, truly interested. Jake sighed, looking at his mug. "Life had some surprises," he said. "I was homeless for a time, but I'm working on getting back on my feet." His honesty touched her, and she felt a wave of sympathy for him. "I think you're very brave," Ava said, quietly. "It can't be simple." "Thank you," Jake replied, a little uncertainly. "It's good to talk about it, to feel like a person again." Ava smiled warmly, feeling a connection growing between them. Without even realizing it, she put her hand on his arm. "You are a person, and you're worthy of compassion, Jake." He stared into her eyes, his gaze questioning. "You're nice," he murmured, his voice barely audible. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed, filled with a powerful feeling that made her heart beat faster. Ava saw thankfulness and kindness in his look, and something deep within her awakened. She wanted to close the distance between them, to overcome the separation caused by their age difference and situation. Jake moved closer, their breaths mixing as their faces came near. "Is it strange that I feel this link?" he asked, his voice heavy with feeling. "No, not at all," Ava answered, her heart thumping. "I feel it too." Then Jake leaned in and gently kissed her. The kiss started softly, a tender exploration. Ava's heart felt light as she leaned closer, making the kiss deeper as their connection sparked like a fire. Jake's hands went to her waist, pulling her near. Their bodies fit together seamlessly. Ava's hands went into his hair, feeling the heat coming from him as the kiss became more ardent. When they parted, both were out of breath. Jake looked at her with a mixture of amazement and surprise. "I didn't foresee that." "Me neither," Ava confessed, feeling both thrilled and anxious. "Can I stay?" "Little longer," Jake asked, his voice low and sincere. "Of course," she replied, her heart racing at the thought of spending more time together. As they settled back onto the couch, Ava felt a rush of warmth and excitement. The rain continued to fall outside, but inside a new warmth blossomed between them. With each passing moment, Ava felt more alive than she had in years, and the possibilities of their connection felt endless. Ava and Jake spent the next few hours sharing laughter and stories, the conversation flowing effortlessly. They were surprised at how much they had in common, despite their age difference and vastly different life experiences. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the atmosphere in the room shifted the light. Heartedness gave way to a deeper intimacy. Jake shifted slightly closer, his eyes locking onto hers, an unspoken question hanging in the air. Ava felt her breath quicken, her heart pounding, as she realized the moment was ripe for something more. She leaned forward, a soft smile on her lips. "You know, I've never met anyone quite like you. I could say the same about you." Jake replied, his voice thick with emotion. They were drawn together once more, the kiss igniting anew. This time, it was more urgent, more passionate. Jake's hand cradled Aya's face, thumbs caressing her cheeks as he deepened the kiss. Ava's body responded instinctively, leaning into him, her fingers tangling in his hair as she pulled him closer. As they kissed, Ava could feel the weight of the world lifting. There was no judgment, no expectations, just the warmth of their bodies pressed together and the sweet taste of possibility. Latone moved to the bedroom. Ava whispered between kisses, her heart racing at the thought of taking things further. Jake nodded, his breath hot against her skin as he stood offering his hand to her. They walked to her bedroom, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. As they entered, Ava turned to face him, her pulse racing. She felt a thrill run through her as she took in his rugged handsomeness, the way the light from the window danced on his skin. Jake closed the distance, wrapping his arms around her waist. Their lips met again, this time more feverishly. Ava melted against him, their bodies moving in sin as they explored each other. With their hands, she felt the heat radiating off him, and her heart raced with every soft touch as they moved to the bed. Ava pushed him gently down her fingers, brushing against his chest, feeling the solid muscle beneath the towel. She climbed onto the bed beside him, their faces inches apart. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice a mix of excitement and vulnerability more than anything. Jake replied, his eyes dark with desire. Ava leaned down, their lips connecting again as she pressed her body against his. She could feel his warmth enveloping her. The scent of his skin, intoxicating her hands, roamed freely, tracing the contours of his body, exploring every inch with a sense of urgency and wonder. Ava felt alive, her heart racing as their kisses deepened, becoming more passionate and exploratory. Jake responded in kind, his hands sliding up her sides, fingers dancing along her waist and back, pulling her even closer, as if trying to erase any space between them with a play grin. Ava leaned back slightly, her gaze locked onto Jake. "What do you like?" she asked, teasingly. "Tell me what makes you tick." Jake chuckled softly, his eyes glimmering with mischief. "Well, I've always appreciated a confident woman who knows what she wants," he replied, his voice low and sultry. Ava felt a thrill at his words, her cheeks flushing. She leaned in again, kissing him deeply, letting her hands to his shoulders and then down to his chest as she explored the muscles beneath his skin. She could feel his heartbeat quicken, mirroring her own. She took her time, enjoying the warmth of his body and the way he responded to her every touch. Jake's hands began to roam as well, caressing her back and tracing the curve of her spine, making her shiver with pleasure. The sensation sent sparks throughout her body, igniting a fire that made her feel bold and adventurous. "You're so beautiful," he murmured between kisses, his lips brushing against her neck, sending shivers down her spine. Ava closed her eyes, surrendering to the moment, allowing herself to feel every caress, every whisper. Feeling emboldened, Ava pushed him back against the soft sheets, climbing atop him as a pup. She pressed her body against his. She could feel the heat radiating off him, their chemistry palpable. Their kisses grew more urgent, fueled by an unquenchable desire that enveloped them both. She reveled in the sensation of being so close to him, their bodies fitting together perfectly. Jake's hands gripped her thighs, his fingers digging gently into her skin as he pulled her closer. He breathed, his voice thick with desire. "You have no idea how long I've dreamed of this." "What did you dream of?" she whispered, her breath hitching as his fingers trailed up her sides, exploring her curves, "of feeling your warmth next to me, of kissing you like this." He trailed off, pulling her down for another deep kiss, their lips moving in perfect harmony. Ava felt a rush of exhilaration at his words. "Here." Heart racing faster, the world outside faded away, leaving only the two of them in this moment, lost in their own universe. She leaned down, trailing kisses along his jawline, down to his neck, savoring the taste of his skin. Jake's breath quickened beneath her, and she smiled against his skin, feeling powerful and desired. "Tell me what you want," Ava murmured, looking up at him with sultry eyes. "I want to know everything," Jake groaned, the sound vibrating through him. "You're driving me crazy." He admitted, a playful smile on his lips. "I want to feel all of you," with a teasing smile. Ava shifted her position, straddling him as she leaned back. Allowing him to admire her, the moment felt electric, and she reveled in the attention, feeling beautiful and empowered like this. She asked, her voice a sultry whisper. Exactly like that, he replied, his eyes darkening with desire. His hands found her waist again, guiding her movements as they kissed deeply, the passion intensifying with each passing moment. As they kissed, Jake's hands began to explore her body again, moving from her waist to the small of her back, fingers trailing down to her thighs, teasing her skin. Ava shivered, her breath hitching as she leaned into him, feeling every touch ignite a fire within her. More, she breathed, encouraging him as she shifted her body, arching against his, inviting him to explore further. She wanted to feel every bit of him, to lose herself in the sensations and the connection they shared, with a playful glint in his eyes. Jake rolled the over, pinning her gently against the bed. I'll give you more, he promised, his voice low and thick with desire. He began kissing his way down her body, starting at her neck and trailing down to her collarbone, savoring every inch of her skin. Ava gasped at the sensations, her hands threading through his hair, urging him on. She felt a delicious thrill course through her as he explored her curves with his lips and tongue, taking his lips and tongue, taking his lips and tongue, taking his lip. Time teasing her as he made his way lower, the anticipation built within her, a sweet ache that made her feel alive. Jake paused, looking up at her with a mischievous smile. Are you ready for this? He asked, his voice low and teasing. Yes. Please. Ava begged, her voice barely above a whisper. With that, he continued his journey, kissing along her abdomen, his hands exploring her thighs, coaxing her closer to the edge. Ava's breath quickened as she felt the heat of his mouth against her skin, the sensations overwhelming her senses. She was lost in a world of pleasure, every kiss, every touch sending waves of ecstasy through her. Jake. She breathed the intensity of the moment, rising with every caress. You feel incredible. He looked up at her, his eyes filled with heat and desire. Before returning to his exploration, his mouth sending her spiraling into bliss. Ava's fingers tightened in his hair as she lost herself in the moment, the world outside fading away, until there was only the two of them entwined in passion. As they moved together, the rain continued to fall outside, but inside, the warmth of their connection enveloped them. They were two souls finding solace in each other, bound by a chemistry that felt both exhilarating and comforting. Reveled in the intimacy, the freedom to explore and discover each other without hesitation. As the night deepened, the rain continued to patter softly against the window, creating a serene backdrop to their intimate moment. With every tender kiss and gentle caress, Ava and Jake felt their connection grow stronger, as if they were weaving a tapestry of shared dreams and desires. Eventually, as exhaustion began to creep in, they settled into each other's arms, their bodies entwined beneath the soft sheets. Jake pulled her closer, enveloping her in his warmth. She sighed contentedly, resting her head against his chest, feeling the rhythmic beat of his heart. It was a comforting sound that lulled her into a state of blissful peace. What now? I asked, looking up at him, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Jake smiled down at her, his thumb gently stroking her cheek. Now we enjoy the moment, he replied softly, but I don't want this to end, and I want this to end. And to explore this, whatever this is between us. Ava felt her heart swell at his words. Me too. I've never felt this way before, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. You make me feel alive. He leaned in, capturing her lips in a sweet, lingering kiss that spoke volumes about their newfound connection. I want to keep discovering each other. Ava, he said, his voice low and sincere, and I want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what. His heart fluttered at his promise. "And I'm here for you too," she replied, her voice filled with warmth. Never thought I'd feel this way about someone, especially after everything they shared, a quiet moment basking in the glow of their intimacy, each feeling a sense of safety and acceptance in the other's presence. Ava could hardly believe how much had changed in such a short time. Just a rainy night had brought them together, and now they had forged a bond that felt unbreakable.